We have a pretty big win here for Bernie Sanders and his campaign in the form of a concession from the DNC. The Hill explains here, top Bernie Sanders supporters, Dr. Cornel West and Representative Keith Ellison, will be among those on the Democratic Party's important platform drafting committee after the Vermont senator won a key concession as he looks to leave his mark on the party's platform. The roster of the drafting committee, released by the Democratic National Committee on Monday, reflects the party's agreement that Sanders would have 5 supporters on the committee, compared to 6 for Hillary Clinton. Along with Cornel West and Keith Ellison, Sanders supporters on the committee are author Bill McKibben, Arab American Institute head James Zogby, and Native American activist Deborah Parker. So I definitely think this is positive. As far as the history of a move like this, I'm led to believe it's somewhat unprecedented. That you have the person who, at least seemingly at this point, is behind enough in pledged delegates where he's not going to end up being able to grab the nomination in that sense. For that person to get this many seats on the Democratic Platform Committee is a win. It's definitely a win, and Bernie says so himself here. He released a statement, and he said, "We believe that we will have the representation on the platform drafting committee to create a Democratic platform that reflects the views of millions of our supporters who want the party to address the needs of working families in this country and not just Wall Street, the drug companies, the fossil fuel industry, and other powerful special interests." The Hill continues here. His selections foreshadow the possibility of a fight over some major tenets of the platform, including minimum wage and the relationship in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So, one of the things that they're considering as concessions, and that apparently they've caved here on, is that, okay, Bernie supporters are super passionate. They really only want him. So, in order to keep these people in the Democratic Party and not totally shut them out, give them some stuff on the platform, but also, as previous articles have pointed out, 2 areas where they're willing to most change the party's official stance is the minimum wage, where they're going to adopt his stance of $15 federal across the board, and Israel-Palestine, where Bernie has said, and I think he's 100% right in doing this, we need more neutral language, man. We can't have, 2 parties in the United States that overwhelmingly put a middle finger up to the Palestinians, and then at the same time comically argue, let's draft a peace deal. Draft a peace deal? Both parties say, fuck the Palestinians, give the Israelis whatever they want, but let's try a peace deal. No, then you're not really interested in a peace deal. In order to do a peace deal, there's give and take. You know, if you've ever negotiated for something, hey, here's my offer, hey, here's my counteroffer, here's this, here's that, and then you meat somewhere in the middle. Well, the Democratic and the Republican parties have been on team fuck Palestinians no matter what for the longest time. And Bernie's like, look, man, we can't keep doing that. If we want to have any hopes of peace, we got to change that. So some of the people that Cornel West has put on this committee, they are strong in favor of Palestinian rights. And again, this is somewhat unprecedented in the sense that you have the Democratic Party saying, okay, we're going to have to do something here to try to get the Bernie's people on board. And putting Cornel West on that committee, man, does that feel good. For those of you who don't know, the few of you who probably don't know, Dr. Cornel West is one of the best progressive warriors and liberal champions in the country, just crusading for, getting a better system here and looking out for middle-class people and poor people. That's another thing. You'll have a platform that much more represents the needs of the poor. I mean, the Democratic Party, over the years, very few people noticed it, but they've moved the goalposts a little bit. And they used to talk about the poor back in the day when it was the older Democratic Party. But then, when we had this new Democrat mold come along, in large part thanks to Bill Clinton, well, they said, okay, fuck that. Let's only talk about the middle class. Forget the poor. Fuck the poor. Well, now with Cornel West on the platform committee, well, we're going to have much more language that's inclusive for poor people, too. So the people who deserve the credit for this also are, without question, I would say, the Bernie or bust people. Without question, the people who at the Nevada convention were loud and in your face to the rigged, corrupt system, because that was a wake-up call to a lot of people. Guys, you don't get it. In the Washington bubble, people really naively thought until very recently, Well, what do you mean? After we get rid of this nuisance, this, thorn in our sides here, Bernie Sanders, well, then everybody's going to fall in line behind Hillary. We love Hillary. Look at the comments from people like Joe Biden, for example. Just inside that bubble as deep as you could possibly get. Like, I'm convinced that not only will Hillary be the nominee, she'll be the next president of the United States. They're so utterly convinced that, what do you mean? There's no dislike or hatred for Hillary. Well, the numbers show the opposite. And then they finally got a wake-up call with this Nevada convention when they were like, oh, let's snub 58 Bernie delegates so that Hillary can win this and pick up just for 2 extra delegates overall. That is fucking insanity. But the reaction from Bernie supporters and the Bernie or bust people starting to chant, for example, Bernie or bust at his rallies, now they're starting to get the message. Oh, if we don't make concessions, we're fucked. So I hope this is just the beginning. I hope this is just step 1 out of 4 or 5 steps. People have tweeted at me, people who are Hillary supporters, and they go, okay, look, I don't want to lose to Trump. What can we do? Like, what can Hillary Clinton do in order to gain at least some of the people who are Bernie or bust? And they say, never Hillary. Well, honestly, what the answer is? Do anything Bernie wants. You'll go, oh, come on, he didn't win, it's not fair, blah, 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 blah. No. But Bernie Sanders, the demands that he would make would only be reasonable demands. He's Bernie Sanders. He's basically the height of a reasonable human being. So what's he going to do? He's going to say, okay, we get the platform thing, which is great. So we get good people to actually write the Democratic platform. I don't know, maybe he should be involved in the VP pick process because Bernie Sanders would actually pick some sort of true progressive. So perhaps he can weigh in on that front as well. Perhaps he gets cabinet picks and he gets to say all of the shitty 1990s center-right corporatist Democrats who were in favor of deregulation, which led to the crash of the economy, none of them are allowed in anymore. None of them. You can't have these Wall Street advisors. So if he can do cabinet picks, if he could help with VP picks, if he can be directly involved as he is now in the writing of the platform, if you let him and his supporters know that this is, we get it, you're remaking the Democratic Party and honestly bringing it more back to its roots. If you do that, are you going to pick up all the people who are Bernie or bust? Of course not. There are some people who really, under no circumstance, would ever give even tacit support for Hillary, never mind voting for her. But would you pick up some of those supporters? You would. You would. So, this is something that's good. And just finally, I know there are going to be some people who view this skeptically. And they say, well, it's just the platform, and you don't know if that's going to actually represent the policies they push for, and this is just a way to sort of placate the left, and you shouldn't fall into that trap. What I would say to those people is, you might be 100% right. Like, of course, that's a possibility. But just remember that, would you prefer them having not done this, having not given Bernie Sanders 5 people on the platform committee? Would you prefer them not making concessions? You also know the answer to that is no. Of course you would prefer them making these concessions. So I would, it's good to be skeptical. You should continue to be skeptical and to look at what Hillary and the Democratic establishment do and keep it in perspective, of course. But just remember that even if they have, this nefarious agenda attached to the actions that they're doing, all of us, I would think, would still prefer Bernie have a better say in the platform and Bernie be more involved in a potential Hillary administration, so on and so forth.